What did she say that froze the entire red carpet? Was it a slip of the tongue? Or a truth she could no longer hide? Gasps, flashing cameras, and one stunned expression turned a glamorous night into a moment no one expected. Night, red carpet revealed takes you behind the lights and into the confession that stopped everyone in their tracks. Let's uncover the truth together. The night began with light, 1,000 flashes blooming across a crimson carpet that seemed to stretch into forever. Photographers shouted names. Jewels sparkled like frozen lightning. And every movement felt choreographed by destiny itself. No one imagined that, beneath the shimmer, a single sentence would soon silence an entire gala. She arrived first. Luna Bai, draped in scarlet silk that caught every glimmer of the chandeliers, moved like a whisper that knew its own power. Each step was calm, deliberate, rehearsed to perfection. Yet those who watched closely could see the tremor in her fingers when she reached for the microphone. Her smile was precise, the kind built by years of surviving in the public eye, but her eyes flickered with something untamed. Behind her, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Zeng Shunxi had entered. The cameras turned, flashes collided. He wore classic black suit that made time slow down. When their eyes met across the carpet, the air itself seemed to bend. For a heartbeat, the world forgot how to breathe. They hadn't been seen together in months. Their last project, a romantic drama that had blurred too easily into reality, had ended abruptly. Rumors filled the silence, creative differences, heartbreak, betrayal. Tonight they were scheduled to appear separately. Yet fate, or publicity, had arranged their names side by side on the guest list. Reporters whispered, "Will they look at each other?" Others smirked. "Maybe they'll pretend nothing happened." No one expected what came next. The host's voice cracked through the noise. "Luna Bai, welcome back to the red carpet. And, oh, we have Zeng Shunxi joining us, a reunion fans have been waiting for." Laughter, applause. 1,000 camera shutters. Luna tilted her head politely. Jace managed a grin. It was the kind of moment that life's perfectly on screen and miserably in reality. Then the host asked the fatal question. Light-hearted and harmless on the surface, would you two ever work together again? Luna's lips parted, but instead of a practiced laugh, a breath escaped, sharp, trembling. She turned toward Jace, microphone trembling slightly. "Some stories," she said softly, "never end. Even when the cameras stop." The carpet froze. The lights brightened. Lens focusing at once. Jace blinked, uncertain whether to smile or run. Nervous chuckle passed through the crowd. But Luna didn't move. She looked directly at him. Voice steadier now. Each word slicing through the glamour like truth-cutting silk. "And some promises, you don't break." Silence is safer. No one spoke. The host shifted awkwardly. For a few endless seconds, there was only the soft hum of electronics recording history. Then Jace stepped forward, searching her face for meaning. "What promise?" someone shouted. Luna smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a celebrity. It was the kind that belongs to a human who's finally stopped pretending. "The one I kept too long," she whispered. Then handed back the microphone and walked toward the end of the carpet. The applause came late, confused, polite, the kind reserved for performances people don't yet understand. Jace stood still, his expression unreadable. His heart beat loud enough to drown the noise. Reporters surged forward. "Jace, what did she mean? Was that about you?" His jaw tightened. He said nothing. By midnight, the clip had been replayed millions of times. A confession, Jace speechless. Red carpet shock trended worldwide. Fans dissected her tone, the flicker of his eyes, the micro-expressions that might reveal a hidden history. Some claimed it was publicity, others swore they'd witnessed real heartbreak disguised as poise. Inside the venue, chaos reigned. Producers whispered into phones. PR teams drafted statements. Someone suggested they spin it as method acting gone too far. Another said, "No. We make it about empowerment, truth and courage." But the raw footage told its own story, one woman breaking script. One man caught between memory and duty. Backstage, a witness described seeing Luna alone in the dressing room afterward. Palms pressed in a mirror. Eyes wet but steady. She wasn't crying. The witness said later. Was shaking, like someone who'd finally dropped a secret she'd carried for years. Meanwhile, Jace was escorted to a side exit. A journalist managed to shout his name as he passed. Just long enough to answer. Voice quiet, almost tender. She said what she needed to, he murmured. Then stepped into the waiting car. That sentence only deepened the mystery. Did he mean forgiveness? Agreement? Or regret? No one knew. But speculation grew like wildfire. Blogs published timelines of their past collaborations. Fans uncovered an old interview where Luna had once described Jace as the safest chaos I've ever known. By dawn, the world had decided for them. And screamed, red carpet confession, the love story they had too long. Magazines printed side-by-side photos, analyzing posture and body language. Hosts called it cinema bleeding into real life. But beyond the glare, something quieter unfolded. An anonymous forum used by industry insiders. A post appeared from someone claiming to be a makeup artist that night. It read, before walking out. Looked at him and said, if not tonight, never. The post was deleted within minutes. But screenshots live forever. For the next 2 days, Luna nor Jace appeared in public. Their agencies issued identical lines. The event remarks were spontaneous and unrelated to personal matters. It convinced no one. Rumors swelled that Luna had confessed feelings buried since their first project. That Jace had rejected her to protect his image. The line about promises referred to a private pact made years ago. Everyone had a theory, no one had truth. Red carpet revealed chased fragments, snippets from staff, stray texts, deleted social posts, and a pattern emerged. Staff photographer remembered seeing them rehearsing their red carpet walk earlier that day. She asked which side the light would hit first. He told her, always the left, it's where your heart is. She laughed. But it wasn't acting. A week earlier, Luna had been seen buying a white envelope from a stationery boutique. That same envelope, unsealed, found discarded near the dressing room door after the gala. Inside, only a single sentence written in looping handwriting, when you hear the word promise, look at me. The envelope vanished before reporters arrived. Taken by an unknown assistant. Whether the note was meant for him or simply for herself. Proof. As night turned to morning, story mutated again. Fans noticed that Jace's latest social media bio changed from actor, dreamer to just one word, promise. The update lasted 1 hour before disappearing. All the noise. The image of that night remained frozen in public memory, the moment she turned. The look in his eyes. The pause before applause. People replayed it not for gossip but for emotion, for the rare, fragile collision between truth and performance. By the end of the week, the gala's organizers called it the most talked about red carpet appearance of the decade. Sponsors courted both stars for interviews, but they declined. Silence had become the only statement left to make. Still, whispers continued. She'd fled to the coast, he'd sent flowers without a note. A journalist claimed to have audio of a late-night phone call between them where she said, "You don't have to answer, I just needed to say it once where the world could hear." Whether that recording existed or not didn't matter anymore. Story had already transcended reality. It became legend, the confession under 1,000 lights. The pause that felt like forever. The promise that outlived the performance. And somewhere behind closed doors, two people who once shared scripts now shared silence. Silence heavy enough to fill every headline and tender enough to outlast them all. The night after the confession was strangely quiet. He still pulsed with light. But inside Luna's apartment everything was still. The glittering gown lay folded on the couch, its fabric holding the scent of perfume and nerves. Phone buzzed endlessly, calls from the agency, friends, strangers, but she didn't touch it. Stood by the window, watching the reflection of herself in the glass. The echo of her own words replaying in her mind. Some stories never end. And the cameras stop. On the other side of the city, Jay sat in the back of a car that smelled faintly of cologne and smoke. The driver said nothing. He replayed the clip on his phone once, twice, 3 times. Repetition might change the ending. Every replay made her voice sound softer, sadder, more final. By the time he reached home, the world had already decided what her confession meant. He was the man she had loved. Betrayed. Or both. At dawn the streets glowed silver. He slipped out wearing a hood and mask, unnoticed by the morning crowd. He walked until the city ended and the water began. A place where gossip could not reach. Her reflection trembled on the tide. For the first time in years, she didn't know if she regretted speaking or regretted waiting so long. The ocean answered with silence. By noon, the damage reports arrived. Sponsorships on hold. Scripts postponed. The agency's crisis team demanded an apology. It was metaphor. Her manager begged. Say it was about art. Luna listened quietly, then said, I can't unsay something I finally meant. Line cut through the boardroom like wind through glass. Meanwhile, Jace was summoned to his own emergency meeting. We can spin this. The executives promised. Say you were surprised, not hurt. That you admire her courage. He looked at the notes they handed him. Lines written in someone else's handwriting. He folded the paper neatly and said, if she was brave enough to speak, I won't lie to cover it. It was the first time in years he had refused a script. The public turned their attention into obsession. Commentators debated whether love could survive fame. Confession was rebellion or marketing. Every frame of their past was dug up, a shared laugh in a behind-the-scenes clip. A fleeting touch during a premiere. Vote essays. Fan edits, even songs. Interpretation stole another piece of their truth. Fifth day, Luna vanished. Her team claimed she had gone abroad for rest. But insiders whispered about a seaside town 2 hours from the capital. Reporters swarmed airports. No one found her. Only a single photo surfaced, a figure in white sitting on a pier. Hair tangled by wind. The caption beneath read, let the sea hold the noise for a while. Jace saw it and packed a small bag. He told no one. When he reached the coast at night, rain had started to fall. The town was small. A handful of lights along the shore. He found her in a cafe that smelled of cinnamon and thunder. She looked up as he entered. And for a heartbeat they were just two people again, not symbols. You shouldn't be here, she said softly. To be, he replied. You said some promises shouldn't be broken. She smiled faintly. And some shouldn't be repeated. He sat in silence while the storm rattled the windows. Hovered but refused to land. Finally he asked a question that had followed him through every headline. Did you mean it? She met his gaze. Every word. Outside, lightning traced the horizon like a heartbeat. He reached across the table. Fingers brushing hers. First time in months she didn't pull away. The next morning, the rain stopped. They walked along the beach, shoes in hand. World still asleep. They'll find out, she said. They always do. Let them, he answered. For once. Be real than right. When they returned to the city a few days later, the story had already cooled. Internet had moved on to a new scandal. But the quiet between them carried its own weight, a fragile truce between truth and survival. At the following film festival, they appeared separately again. Yet something in their eyes betrayed them. When she stepped onto the stage to present an award. Seated in the front row. The crowd cheered. She hesitated just a second before smiling. Their eyes met. A silent echo of the night that had changed everything. Backstage, a reporter asked if she regretted her words. Luna thought for a long moment before answering. No, she said. I just wish I'd said them sooner. Mine became the quote of the year. Magazines printed it in gold letters. But to Jace, a few meters away, it wasn't an answer, it was an invitation to finally breathe. Weeks passed. Their lives diverged again, different films, different continents, but every time she faced a microphone, every time he saw a red carpet, both remembered the silence that followed her confession, not applause, not chaos. The sound of truth finally spoken aloud. Months later, a charity gala reunited them by chance. The hall glittered with chandeliers. The air thick with nostalgia. When Luna entered, the crowd parted. As if the night itself remembered. Jace stepped forward. Offered his hand. Cameras clicked. But they didn't flinch this time. Still keeping promises, she asked. Still listening when you speak, he said. Posed for photos. But the smiles were different, softer, almost private. It looked like professionalism. To them it felt like peace. After the gala, as guests drifted away, Luna walked out into the quiet courtyard. He glowed beneath her. Endless and bright. Jace joined her. Just close enough for their shoulders to touch? Strange, she murmured. How we spend our lives pretending under lights. And yet the truest moments always happen in the dark. He laughed quietly. Maybe that's why the stars belong up there. A breeze lifted the edge of her gown. Somewhere inside, an orchestra played the final song of the night. looked at him and whispered, "Thank you for coming." "Always," he said. They stood like that until the music faded. Two silhouettes framed by the last flash of the cameras, slipping into the kind of anonymity they'd once thought impossible. The world would keep guessing, rewriting, dissecting. But none of it mattered anymore. What began as a confession had become something simpler, two people finally at ease with the noise. Red Carpet Revealed later published its final line on the story: "Some truths don't need to be hidden, they just need to be lived." And somewhere beyond the carpet, beyond the headlines, Luna and Jace kept walking, out of the light, into their own quiet forever. Thank you for staying with us until the final light faded. Every story we tell shines for a moment. But it's the people who listen, who feel, that give it meaning. To everyone who has followed this journey through the glamour, the chaos, and the quiet truth behind the red carpet, thank you for watching, wondering, and believing with us. Next revelation. This has been Red Carpet Revealed, where every whisper has a story.